Trainer Kenny McPeak and his champion horses are now a part of Morningline. With Morningline, I don't just watch the race, I invest in champions. Buy, sell, trade, anytime. Morningline, own the game.
Hi everyone, Ashley May, Mike Beer here with another stakes preview. We will look at Saturday at Santa Anita. The nightcap on the 9-race program is a stakes event. It's on the downhill at 6.5 furlongs. It's the Sunshine Millions Filly and Mare Turf Sprint. But before we dive into the field, Mike, with our videos here and our previews, now sponsored by Morningline.io, just want to share some information here. You can unlock access to some of racing's most coveted bloodlines, mares and colts connected to championship pedigrees. Morningline is a private SEC-regulated marketplace where approved participants can trade licensed interests in elite racehorses. No ongoing costs. Build your stable only at morningline.io. So over the next few months here on the DRF YouTube page and on our social channels, you'll get more information there about Morningline.io. But we talked about it. We're going to preview that stakes race Saturday on the downhill at Santa Anita. And didn't know your thoughts here on the field. It does attract 9 fillies and mares of those Calbred types. Mike, to me, I think there are 2 horses probably going to take a lot of the play.
Yeah, probably. These are usually really well-matched fields, and so they can be fun races to handicap. We haven't seen the morning line yet, but I don't know, kind of feels like the 3 Grand Slam Smiles, the horse to beat, at least in my opinion. I think that's mostly due to her speed. The horse that Grand Slam Smile sort of traded a couple of close decisions with last year on the grass was Sneaker, who's also back in this field.
And you mentioned it, 2 starts back on October 12th at Santa Anita. Same circumstances, 6.5 on the downhill. Grand Slam Smile came up a little bit short behind Sneaker, but we'll take a look at the time form U.S. pace projection here for this downhill event. I'm always curious to see how this will sort of factor in the downhill. We do see some really quick times, but nothing really out of the ordinary in here. It looks like the 4 is projected to be part of the pace going deep. I would agree with that. I would still say, though, Grand Slam Smile, based on what she's done, she doesn't need the lead to win, Mike, but doesn't she typically find herself towards the front of the fields?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, she has natural speed, and they don't always just send her off to the front, but, at least in my opinion, she's a much faster horse than the 4 going deep is, but I guess we'll see how they decide to play it.
I'm just going to make a note here on the number 8, Take Another Card. She's truly the deep closer in this race, it looks like, and she does have the LP flag attached to her, at least based on her last 2. But we'll dive right into it here with the number 1, Prancing Through Paris. This one in the Peter Urton barn. She exits the Solana Beach last time out, and that's all the way back in August at Del Mar. It was going a mile. She's going to cut back in distance, and I think the interesting thing to note is last time we saw her at 6.5 on the downhill, she was able to win, Mike.
Yeah, she was pretty good in that race, too. I mean, she got a really good trip in that race, but I thought that was a pretty nice performance there with a figure that I guess is going to give her a chance in here, too, Ashley. I don't know, man. I thought she was the toughest call in the race because she has a couple of races, including that Irish O'Brien that you're referencing there, that I think give her a real chance to win here. Sort of a little 3-race skid there through the summer of last year where, I don't know, she didn't run that great, but she didn't run terrible, and none of those races are sprinting on the grass. So I don't know. I thought she was interesting coming back from the layoff in this spot.
And don't you feel like she'll be a decent price?
Yeah, I do. I feel like she will be a decent price in this race. I thought there was a lot to like about her, but again, I thought she was a tough call because we're going to get to some other horses in here that are easy to make cases for, too.
The 2, Tequila and Therapy, up next here for Doug O'Neill. And Misael Jaramillo has the mount, and they teamed up to some good work just a couple of race cards ago. This is a filly who, just when you look at last year as a 3-year-old, there's a lot that I would have liked to see that we just don't see, right? She didn't make it to the winner's circle. I felt like her trips, they were almost the same thing, and I just don't know where the closing kick has been. She hasn't had one.
That's my biggest issue, not with her form from sort of late 2024 and early last year necessarily, but from her 2 races since she's come back from the layoff. I just didn't think that she ran that well either time, but listen, maybe she needed the first start back. And then, last time they tried to stretch her out to a mile over less than firm turf. And so I don't know, this is the kind of filly that I personally am always going to try to dress up a little bit because I'm assuming that if they were with you, maybe they were with somebody else, but we did some videos of her races, some of those Calbred stakes last year. And I was onto this horse. I bet her in a couple of those races. I thought that she ran well. I thought she was a little underrated at that time. Too early for me to give up on her, but I understand why anybody else wouldn't want to come along.
The 3 Grand Slam Smile, is probably the horse to beat here. Just a body of consistency. Look at her record. She's yet to miss the top 3, a 9-time winner in her career. And kind of looking at her last couple, we'll take a look at one of her replays. Now, when we look at it, it's a dirt race. But again, with these Calbred races, right, look at this field. You have a lot of horses flip-flopping on surfaces. And I thought this was a huge performance from her. I mean, I think she's good on the dirt, and her numbers maybe suggest she's equally as good, but I actually like her a little bit more on the turf. And the way that she has to dig deep here at the 7/8 distance, they put her on the shelf after this. I don't mind that. She ran huge this day.
Yeah, it's a good performance. The cool thing about her is she's good on all 3 surfaces. Actually, you can do whatever you want with her. So that it's very rare, I think, that you get a horse who maybe is equally good on all 3 surfaces, but that could be the case with her. I'm kind of with you. I like her as a turf horse. I particularly like her as a turf sprinter. And, I know that that Sneaker got the best of her a couple starts back there in October, but I still felt like this horse sort of did a little bit more hard work in that race, because the other favorite, she was the actual favorite. The other favorite in the race was on the lead, and Grand Slam Smile sort of had to race that horse first, put her away, and then Sneaker came forward and she just couldn't quite hold her up. I still thought she ran really well in there, and I think she's the horse to beat in here.
The 4 going deep, we saw with the time form US pace projection, she could be forward in here. That was certainly the case 2 starts back when she was able to win, but completely different ball game. 1 mile and a 16th on the turf at Del Mar. We've seen her once since then, which was after having a little bit of a break. They put her in the Zia Park Oaks, and she never fired. So I don't know what to do with her. Obviously, she's undefeated on the turf, but I think the downhill and this level of competition is something that she hasn't seen yet.
I think it's going to be too much for her, but I guess we'll find out. As you mentioned, she's 2 for 2 on the turf, so maybe she's just a turf horse. But I look at those 2 turf races and say she's loose on very slow paces both times, and she's not getting that trip in here.
The 5 Sneaker, we talked about, it was able to defeat Grand Slam Smile 2 back. We'll actually show that replay now. And Sneaker didn't fire in the Betty Grable, and I think it was an experiment. Let's go for a Cal race on the dirt. I don't think we'll probably see her on the dirt ever again. But when you look at this turf effort from her, I think you said it correctly. I mean, Grand Slam Smile did all of the work on the front end, and I think Sneaker just got a beautiful trip in here.
I think trips did make the difference in this race, and I don't want to take too much away from Sneaker. She's very game in this race to close it down, and it's not like she came from a million lengths out of it. She just sort of sat, but she sat a better trip, in my opinion, and she's just going to get up at the end. Good performance there, and I feel like if you really want to believe in her, then all you got to do is go back to the Solana Beach in August, where she faced Grand Slam Smile again, and it was very close between those 2 horses, right down to the wire again. So I think she obviously fits really, really well in here. I still prefer Grand Slam Smile to her, but I won't be surprised if this horse comes out on top again.
Just one other question on her. What did you think of Blinkers going on?
My standard response to that an equipment change almost every single time is I hate it. Certain horses, especially a horse like her, she's 5 years old. She's run almost 20 times. To me, it's never a good sign when you get an equipment change like that. So we'll see if it works out for him.
The 16, Turner up next here, a 3-time winner in her career, 3 for 4, lightly raced when we look at this group. And she got really started quite late last year as a 3-year-old filly. And, I think her races are fine. I think she's gotten pretty much almost this identical trips every time she's won, Mike, where she's close to it. She's not on the front end, and she just waits and buys her time, is able to dig deep. But I think one thing just to note, her best buyer, I know it's not, the same numbers that we're seeing from others in here, was on the turf on the downhill.
Yeah, I thought she ran well in that race. I don't know. She got a great trip in there, and I feel like it probably wasn't a very good field. I still liked what I saw from her there. I thought she ran really well and won that race really easily. So she's so lightly raced, Ashley. I know that the only time that she lost, she faced a bunch of these horses and she was no match for them. And so maybe that's all that you need to know, even though it was on dirt. Isn't there at least some kind of a chance that she's a turf horse? And she had run so well on dirt a couple of times that they stuck with it, but her turf race is actually really good. Maybe this is her surface.
Well, I think give it a shot, right? You don't know who's going to enter in this race. And if Grand Slam Smile and maybe Sneaker or another horse we'll talk about in a little bit isn't in here, well, what's to say she can't certainly win? So I think it's an interesting horse and at least someone to watch going forward out of this race. The 7 Moments Pleasure up next here was 6th last time out. She's a closer in the field. I know the horse to her outside, Take Another Card, also is as well. It's just for me, when I look at last year, I don't really love any of her races.
I don't either. And then she just kept running against these horses too, and she just never was a serious factor in any of them. I mean, you wonder if she's ever going to get back to that 3-year-old form, because if you go back to her 3-year-old campaign, I mean, she's a stakes winner with an 88 Beyer speed figure. Her final start as a 3-year-old, she wins with another competitive figure. And since then, she just hasn't gotten back to that level. I'm not sure what the reason is. A little bit of a freshening here as she comes into this race and turns back in distance again. So if she can refine her form, she can contend in this race, actually. I just didn't really trust her to do it.
The 8, Take Another Card. She's an interesting filly. I remember just this time last year doing the Cal Cup Oaks preview, and if you watched her debut, it was really impressive the way that she's able to win. She was able to win the Cal Cup Oaks, and she hasn't seen the winner's circle since then, but kind of look at some of the races that she's been against, right? She faced Olders last time out. They weren't the Calbreds. It's the first time we're going to see her back against the Calbreds, and the other thing is she's going to cut back in distance.
Yeah, I really like that for her too. I'm very interested in her going shorter in her races. Boy, her last 2 starts, they may not look great, and I know they aren't stakes races. They're sort of those starter allowance or allowance optional claiming kind of races. I thought she ran really well both times. The first start off the layoff in October, they just sort of walked in front of her, and she's last. And she actually ran in that race after getting blocked for most of the stretch in there. That's an underrated performance. And then last time, she just got way too far away early in there, but she was running at the end of that race too. I really like her cutting back in this race.
And I would say if you look at that group last time out, that allowance optional claiming, I know they're not Calbreds, right? But go look at some of those horses. I mean, they're consistently just running good races, maybe not winning them. They're kind of it's a salty division, I would say. So I kind of like this spot for her as well. Then we'll round out the field here with the number 9, Issa Court. This one in the Bob Hess Jr. barn. Now, she was second in the Betty Grable behind Grand Slam Smile. I thought she ran really well. She's slightly intriguing, I think, in a way, when you go to a race 2 back where she wasn't that far off of a couple of the names we talked about.
Yeah, it feels like listen, in that race 2 back at the turf one, it feels like she didn't really have much of an excuse. She was in the mix. She was in between Sneaker and Grand Slam Smile, dueling through the stretch, and she just wasn't quite good enough. But I mean, listen, she was hardly embarrassed in there, and it was her first start off the claim for Bob Hess, and it's, to me anyway, pretty clearly the best race she's ever run. She comes back, she runs well again on the dirt. I don't know. I mean, she's 8 years old now, but it feels like, at least for now, Bob Hess has her in the best form of her life.
And they went back in for her, as you mentioned. She comes back into the barn, runs her best race, but they had her before in the stables. That's the field of 9 for the Sunshine Millions Filly and Mare Turf Sprint. We will move to our top selections here, and I'm just going to be honest, I'm not going to get creative. I'm a huge fan of Grand Slam Smile. I think she comes from sort of humble beginnings at Golden Gate, and you look at what they've been able to do with her, and just to stay this good for as long as she has, I'm really curious to see her now. It's a 5-year-old mare, but I mean, we're on a lot of the same horses, and the horse I use in second's your top pick, and I can understand why. You go to the 8, Take Another Card.
We just flip-flopped our top 2 picks here. I think we saw this race very similarly. I think Grand Slam Smile's the horse to beat. Maybe she's just too good for these horses. I like take Another Card in this race. I think she'll get a better trip here. I like her turning back to sprinting down the hill in this race, and I'm betting her in this race.
8325 for Mike, 3859 for me. Race number 9 this Saturday out at Santa Anita. Good luck.